Hey guys, it's Kyle down here at Lunicycle. Today I'm going to show you how to change out the main power wire and the breaker on your Talaria Sting bike. This will apply to any of the bikes that have breakers, which is the MX3 or the MX4. You'll need to remove your battery. You'll also need to dangle your controller down. I have a video in the description that shows you how to remove your controller. So we've already done that at this point. Now we'll cut down to unbolting the bottom of this wire from the controller. So if you've already got your controller dangling, you'll need to disconnect the negative and the positive. And you can just leave the controller dangling like this. There are two little zip ties holding these wires in place to the frame. Go ahead and cut those zip ties. Alright, now in order to gain access to the breaker, you do need to flip the whole breaker panel backwards. There is two little screws, one on each side. Go ahead and take these out with a 4mm. And go ahead and push this whole battery panel backwards. This is going to give you easier access to the big positive discharge wire, which goes through the breaker. Now the replacement wire comes with the positive, which is going to go into the breaker, and then the negative, which is going to go all the way down to the controller. It also comes with a replacement lead coming out of the other side of the breaker, but usually those never ever go bad. The only failure you would see that you would need to replace this would usually be this little BMS wire here. It's not making communication through these little pins, so you're replacing this. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to remove the old one and install the new one. Now you need a decent Phillips head screwdriver. The two screws that hold the wires in place on the breaker are really tight. So you do need to have a high quality screwdriver. Go ahead and break this loose. Twist it counterclockwise a few turns. And then you will be able to pull out the positive end of the discharge wire. At this point you can find the end of the BMS wire and go ahead and unplug this. And at this point you'll be able to fully remove the discharge wire assembly. Alright, I'm going to remove the bottom part of the positive, but most of the time you're never going to need to replace this unless somehow this lower lug got damaged. So I am just going to go ahead and reinstall this. Now I'm going to cut to showing the proper orientation on how to get these wires in here. I filmed it on the bench because it is a little hard to see without fully removing the breaker. If you are changing out the breaker, it's extremely easy at this point. You would just remove these 4 screws here, pull your breaker out, install your new one. There's no spacers in between the little battery plate like there are on Surons, so it's actually extremely easy to change out the breaker. Alright, on the breaker itself, you'll notice one end is curved and one end is flat. You'll also notice on the discharge wire that one part is flat and one part has a curve to it. So you want to be sure it gets inserted in this direction. You don't want it upside down or it's going to make poor contact. So flat goes towards the top, curved goes towards the bottom. Alright, it's time to install the new power wire. Now if you look closely to the video on the bench, you'll see one side is curved, one side is flat. The curved side goes down. You definitely want that curved side down. Be sure the metal is all the way in there and you're not going to pinch any of the orange insulation. Tighten this lug really tight. Give this a nice firm pull. Make sure that this wire is really secure inside of this breaker. You've got all the power of the battery is flowing through this wire. So take some extra steps. Be sure this is really secure in here. All right, now you can plug in the BMS wire. And we've already run this back down to the controller. We'll go ahead and make sure we're going to plug this in properly to the controller. When you have two wires dangling down like this, it may be a little confusing. The wires are long enough that it'll let you connect these backwards. So go ahead and take a good look at your controller. The negative or the minus sign is the black one, and then the one that's a plus, the positive, is the red one. Get these nice and straight, and be sure these are tight. You don't want to leave these loose, otherwise this can cause issues in the future. So be sure both of these lugs are nice and tight. While you're at it, check your 3-phase wires, make sure these 3 are tight also. After that, you could zip tie these back into place. It doesn't really matter if these are zip tied into place. At that point, you would push your battery lid forward, reinstall the 2 mounting bolts for the little battery plate, and then reinstall your controller. So that's how you swap out the main power wires on any of the bikes with breakers.